Okay, Assalamualaikum and good afternoon, everybody. I'd like to welcome everyone. I hope everyone can hear me loud and clear. I would like to welcome everyone to this webinar this afternoon titled The Importance of a Ship Waste Management System by Lieutenant Commander IRTS Azim bin Azmi, RMN. This webinar is organized by the Marine Engineering and Naval Architecture Technical Division, IEM. So before we begin the webinar, I'd just like to give a little bit of house rules here. So your mic and your webcam is muted by default. Yeah? So if you have any questions throughout the webinar, please post them in the question tab on the right-hand panel. You see a pane on your right-hand panel. There's a question tab. Please post your question tab there, and I will read out your question to the speaker at the end of the webinar, at the end of the session. So just a brief synopsis of today's talk. Proper disposal prevents pollution from ships. An accidental or deliberate discharge of waste from a ship can damage ocean habitat, contaminate food chains, or harm marine life. This volume of waste produces pressures on the environment, particularly with respect to ship-generated waste disposal at home ports or ports of call. This webinar aims to share the guidelines taken by the Marine Department and also RMN towards requirements for ship waste management system. The titles of this webinar will explain the preventive measures against sea pollution implemented by the Marine Department and also the RMN based on the acts and guidelines that have been issued by the International Maritime Organization and Malaysia. The topic will also cover the issues surrounding ship waste, associated impacts in home ports and ports of call, and future planning by RMN towards a green environment. Okay, that's the brief synopsis. Just a little bit about the speaker before I pass the screen to the speaker. Lieutenant Commander IRTS Azim bin Azmi, RMN, graduated from the University of Technology Malaysia, UTM, with a bachelor's degree in mechanical engineering in 2010 and a master's in mechanical engineering in 2017. He has also attained a diploma in hull construction and a Malaysia Skills Certificate Level 3 from Jabatan Pembangunan Kemahiran, JPK. He started his career as an engineering officer with the Royal Malaysian Navy in 2011. Throughout his service, he has been appointed as workshop officer at Sandakan Naval Base, project team for RMN Sea Basin Construction. This is a collaboration with Sapura Kencana Sdn Bhd and Petroleum Sdn Bhd. He also served as the first crew as an engineering officer at Pangkalan Laut Tun Sharifah Rozia, technical instructor at KD Pelando, which is a training center for the other ranks, and marine engineering officer on board RMN warship KD Sri Indra Sakti. Currently, he is appointed as the staff officer of system and equipment development in the engineering department headquarters. Apart from being a professional engineer, IRTS Azim has also been recognized as a professional technologist by the Malaysia Board of Technologists MBOT in the field of maritime technology. So without wasting any time, without further ado, I pass the screen to Lieutenant Commander IRTS Azim bin Azmi for his talk this afternoon. Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Engineer Technologist Abdul Malik Hussein bin Abdul Jalil, our moderator today, for the good introduction. Before I start my presentation, I would like to thank IEM board members and RMN for allowing me to share my knowledge and my views on this topic with the audience. It is a privilege to be part of this webinar program. Okay, as we can see in the slide shown, this is the scope I'm going to cover throughout this webinar. So the first scope is actually the speaker's profile, just additional about my information, and then followed by the acts and guidelines, commitment measures, and way forward. Okay, just to add about my information, okay. This is the timeline of my career in the Royal Malaysian Navy. So my involvement in professional bodies, also my academic background. Okay, looking at the timeline above, I started my career, which includes my tertiary studies in 2005 at the Malaysia Military Academy, which is now known as the National Defence University of Malaysia. And I am from a mechanical engineering background, both my degree and also my master. And then my first appointment was a workshop officer at Sandakan Naval Base. There I was involved in the ship maintenance and repair. Then I was part of the project team directly involved in refurbishing an old oil rig platform for RMN sea basing. So after the refurbishment was completed, I was appointed as the first engineering officer there. It was quite challenging because I had to develop from scratch the standing orders, procedures, the onboard spare list, the preventive maintenance, and so on for the sea base. Then I was appointed as a training instructor in KD Plando. There I managed to train all my students to complete their SKM until level 3. So after that, I served on board KD3 Indrasati as a marine engineering officer. And Alhamdulillah, during my time on board the ship, I managed to get my PEM, professional engineer, and professional technologies recognition after doing some modifications and upgrading in the ship's anti-healing and water ballast system. And then I served KD Indrasati for 3 years before arriving at my current position. So at the moment, I am serving at RMN Engineering Headquarters as a staff officer on system and equipment development. Okay, without further ado, let's move on to my second scope, which is the act and guidelines involved in ship waste management system in the marine environment. So there are 6 acts and guidelines which fall under IMO and our national categories. So the act and guidelines under the IMO categories are the ballast water management, and then the next is MARPOL Convention, and then Energy Efficiency Existing Ship Index, EEXI, and Carbon Intensity Indicator, CII, and then the outcome of the Marine Environment Protection Committee, MEPC 78, and then also under our national category, namely Dasar Tenaga Negara and Dasar Pengurusan Sisa Pekerjaan Negara. Okay, I'm not going to elaborate in detail on all the acts and guidelines because maybe we don't have enough time, and maybe the presentation will get boring if it takes too long to be presented. Okay, I will only touch the surface of every act and guidelines. Okay, what is the Water Ballast Management Convention? So actually the Water Ballast Management Convention, or BWM Convention, is a treaty adopted by the IMO in order to help prevent the spread of potential harmful aquatic organisms and pathogens in ship ballast water. So from 8 September 2017, ships must manage their ballast water so that aquatic organisms and pathogens are removed or rendered harmless before the ballast water is released into a new location. So this will help prevent the spread of invasive species as well as potentially harmful pathogens. So IMO is the United Nations specialized agency responsible for developing global standards for ship safety and security and for the protection of the marine environment and the atmosphere from any harmful impacts of shipping. So when did the BWM Convention enter into force? So the BWM Convention entered into force globally on 8 September 2017. So which ships does the convention apply to? So the convention applies to ships registered under contracting parties to the BWM Convention, which take up and use ballast water during international voyage. So what about ships registered under a flag that hasn't ratified the BWM Convention? So such ship may not be issued with the relevant certificates. However, the port states that party will expect the ships to comply with the requirement of the convention so as to ensure no more favorable treatment is given to such ship. So what do ships need to do now the treaty is in force? So from the date of the entry into force, so ships in international traffic are required to manage their ballast water and sediments to a certain standard. According to the ship-specific ballast water management plan, ships have to carry a ballast water management plan. Specific to each ship, the ballast water management plan includes a detailed description of the actions to be taken to implement the ballast water management requirements and supplemental ballast water management practice. A ballast water record book, okay, to record when ballast water is taken on board, circulated or treated for ballast water management purpose and discharged into the sea. It should also record when ballast water is discharged to a reception facility, accidental or other exceptional discharge of ballast water. And International Ballast Water Management Certificate, it is for ship of 400 gross ton and above. So this is issued by or on behalf of the administration, flag state, and certifies that the ship carries out ballast water management in accordance with the BWM convention and specify with which standard the ship is complying with, as well as the date or expiry of the certificate. So what does the new schedule for implementation say? So the schedule for implementation, which has been agreed upon by the MEPC, states that compliance with the D2 standard will be phased in overtime for individual ships up to 8 September 2024. So over time, more and more ships will be compliant with the D2 standard. So as you can see, so this is actually the timeline shown for the compliant with the D2 standard. Okay, so the D1 standard, okay, requiring ship to exchange ballast water in open seas away from coastal areas for organism to survive. So this is actually the meaning of the D1 standard. So the D2 standard specifying the maximum amount of viable organism allowed to be discharged, including specified indicator microbes harmful to human health. So usually the D2 standard involve the installing ballast water management system. Okay, and then for background info, so all new ship must conform to the D2 standard. So until the date when they have to meet the D2 standard, existing ship should exchange ballast water mid-ocean to meet the D1 standard. So over the time, all ships will have to meet the D2 standard. So the renewal survey refers to the IO PPC renewal survey under MARPOL Annex 1. So in 2017, all ships must have, okay, the ballast water management plan, ballast water record book, international ballast water management certificate, and then existing ships built prior to 8 September 2017 must meet the D1 standard until their D2 compliance date. Okay, and then new ships built on or after 8 September 2017 must meet the D2 standard. And then on 2019, existing ships with the renewal survey between 8 September 2017 and 8 September 2019. So for case 1, if the previous renewal survey was between 8 September 2014 and 8 September 2017, must comply with the D2 standard by this renewal survey. So for case 2, if previous renewal survey was before 8 September 2014, then the compliance with D2 must be the next renewal survey. So existing ship with renewal survey after 8 September 2019 must meet the D2 standard by this renewal survey. So all ships must meet D2 standard by 8 September 2024. Okay, then the objective, okay, and then I'm going to explain to you about the International Convention for the Prevention of Pollution from Ships, MARPOL Convention. So the objective is to safeguard against accidental pollution, and ship routine operational protects the marine environment. So the convention is divided into 6 annexes. So the first annex is the prevention of pollution by oil, and then annex 2 is the control of pollution by noxious liquid substance in bulk, and then annex 3 is the prevention of pollution by harmful substance carried by sea in package form. Annex 4 is the prevention of pollution by sewage from ships. Annex 5 is the prevention of pollution by garbage from ships, and Annex 6 is the prevention of air pollution from ships. Okay, and then MARPOL's main objective is to, I repeat, is to safeguard against accidental pollution from ships' routine operation and protect the marine environment from ship source pollution. So this convention applies to all ships with the flag of a state member of the convention or that operate within its jurisdiction. Vessel of any type operating in the marine environment include hydrofoil boats, air cushions, vehicles, submersible, floating craft, and fixed or floating platforms. So government vessels, including warships, naval, state-operated, and also non-commercial government ships, are not bound or binded by this convention. So actually, I have attached some notes about the duty of the master, which is the means to report an incident to the coastal state, and flag state or regulation implementers. So master here means the ship's captain. Duty of flags involve casualties investigation, certification, and IMO reporting. So flag here means the marine department. And last but not least, the duty of the coastal state involves ship inspection and port facilities. Coastal state can be our marine department if the incident occurs within our nation, or a foreign country marine department if the incident occurs outside our country. So regarding the implementation, Annex 1 and 2 are mandatory annex that must be adopted by countries who wish to become members of the convention, while Annex 3, 4, 5, and 6 is optional. As of February 2018, a total of 156 countries are members of the IMO and have accepted this convention, Annex 1 and 2, which represent 99.42% of the world's shipping tonnage. Okay, so Malaysia accepted Annex 1, 2, and 5 on January 21st, 1997, which came into force in our country starting May 1, 1997, while Annex 3, 4, and 6 came into force in our country on December 27, 2010. The implementation of the convention, MARPOL, is carried out under the Merchant Shipping Ordinance 1952. Okay, then I'm going to elaborate the annex one by one. The simple elaboration, okay, for Annex 1, okay, it deals with the discharge of oil into the ocean. Specify tanker designed to minimize the oil discharge during operation, and then it applies to all oil tankers plus other ships which can carry oil cargo in a capacity of more than 200 cubic cube, plus fixed or floating platforms more than 400 gross ton. The flag may wave exclusively domestic ships, which have the 72 hours voyage plus 50 nautical miles, but those ships shall retain all oil mixture on board for subsequent discharge to reception facilities. So the flag may exempt ships temporarily for 90 days. So provides regulation of oily water separator, oil discharge monitoring equipment, and oil record book to record all oil plus fuel transfer and capacity. Strict design of tankers to be built with the double hull and double bottom constructions. So coastal states to provide regulated port reception facilities for oil discharge and loading. Certification of international oil pollution prevention, 5 years validity plus annual survey, plus damage control plan of shipboard oil pollution emergency plan, SOPEP. Okay, and then for Annex 2, it applies to all chemical tanker ships certified to carry NLLs. Exception for this annex is the discharge NLLs to sea to save life at sea or ship or equipment damaged with reasonable precaution taken. The flag may exempt any wave requirement by the flag to be reported to IMO. Ship which carry vegetable oil, ships constructed before July 1986, ship with restricted domestic voyage, or the dedicated NLS tank in ships that are only used for ballast and washing. So actually there are 4 categories of NLS ship. So we have the X, Y, Z, and OS. So X is the discharge of it can provide a major hazard, and then Y is the discharge of it can provide a hazard, and Z is discharge of it can provide minor hazard. So the OS category will not fall under X, Y, Z category and present no harm to the marine environment and human health. So the ship must have procedures and arrangement manual of X, Y, and Z discharge plus shipboard marine pollution emergency plan for NLS. So the design and construction of ship must be in compliance with International Bulk Chemical Code, the IBC code for ships built after July 1986. So the requirement applied to NLS certified ships which carry cargo specified in IBC code. So mandatory logs of NLS in the cargo record book. All state party to provide reception facilities for discharging NLS. Ship must comply with the pre-wash of NLS tanks regulation plus the residue assessment. The certification involved in this annex is the International Pollution Prevention for the carriage of NLS, which have the 5 years validity plus the annual survey. So for the Annex 3, it applies to ships that are certified to carry HSPF, okay, a harmful substance carried by sea in package 4, HSPF. It covers the type of cargo carried under the International Maritime Dangerous Code, IMDG code, and then ships are required to have proper HSPF, which are packing, plus marking, plus labeling, plus documentation, plus stowage, and plus quantity limitation. So the criteria for identification of HSPF are short-term aquatic hazard and a long-term aquatic hazard. So for the short-term aquatic hazard, the classification purpose means the hazard of a chemical caused by its acute toxicity to an organism during the short-term aquatic exposure to that chemical. Availability of a substance means the extent to which the substance becomes a soluble or disaggregate species. For the long-term chronic hazard, it means the hazard of a chemical caused by its chronic toxicity following long-term exposure in the aquatic environment. So for this annex, no certification is required. Okay, so for Annex 4, sewage means drainage from toilets plus urinals, medical premises, living animal spaces, or mix from one of those. So apply to ships engaged in international voyage plus above 400 gross ton plus carry more than 15%. So exception for this annex is the discharge sewage to the sea to save life at sea or ship or equipment damaged with reasonable precaution taken. So ship must be equipped with standard discharge connection. So the flag must ensure or approve applied ship have sewage system of a sewage treatment plant, a sewage disinfecting system, or sewage holding tank. So restriction for ships to discharge sewage in special area. So Baltic Sea plus any other areas recognized by IMO. Okay, the discharge of sewage from other ships in all areas and passenger ships outside special areas. Okay, if using the disinfected system, it must be more than 3 nautical miles. If using the non-disinfecting system, it must be more than 12 nautical miles. If from holding tanks or living animals, it must be a moderate rate when the ship move not less than 4 knots as approved by flag. If equipped with a sewage treatment plant, it must not produce visible floating solids or discolor surrounding waters. So the discharge of sewage from passenger ships within special area is prohibited for new passenger ship after January 2016, and existing passenger ships after January 2018. An exception occurs only if flag has approved the appropriate sewage treatment plan. So an all state party shall provide appropriate port reception facilities for sewage discharging. So the certification for this annex is the International Sewage Pollution Prevention Certificate ISPP, which is valid for 5 years validity, initial plus renewal survey. Okay, for Annex 5, regulation for the prevention of pollution by garbage from ships, it applies to all ships. So the garbage includes food waste, domestic waste, operational waste, all plastic, cargo residues, incinerator ashes, cooking oil, fishing gear, except fresh fish and animal carcasses. So the discharge of garbage is generally prohibited in the sea except for regulation 4, 5, 6, and 7. So actually on the table on my slide, you can see the type of garbage and the three condition which is the ships outside special areas, ships within special areas, and then the offshore platform and all ship within 500 meters of such platform. So as you can see, the type of garbage, we have the food waste communicated with or ground, and then food waste not communicated or ground, and then cargo residues not contained in wash water. So the cargo residues contained in wash water, cleaning agents and additive contained in cargo water, cleaning agents and additive contained in deck and external surface wash water, the carcasses of animals carried on board as cargo and which died during the voyage, and all other garbage including plastic, domestic waste, cooking oil, incinerator ashes, operational waste, and fishing gear. So as you can see from the three conditions that I have just mentioned, the discharge are prohibited for this type of garbage. Okay, and then for mixed garbage, when garbage is mixed with or contaminated by other substance, prohibited from discharge or having different discharge requirement, the more stringent requirement shall apply. Okay, the exception discharge of garbage from a ship necessary for the purpose of securing of ship or safety crew, or accidental loss of garbage resulting from damage to a ship or its equipment, or the accidental loss of fishing gear or discharge of fishing gear from a ship for the protection of the marine environment for the ship or crew safety. So the exception is also permissible if food waste presents an imminent health risk to the crew. The state ensure adequate reception facilities without delaying the ship. Ship or platforms more than 12 meters in length shall display placard to notify crew about garbage discharge. Okay, for Annex 6 of MARPOL, okay, it actually control air pollution matters from ship source operational activities. So the exception for the emissions are securing the safety of a ship or saving life at sea, damage to a ship or its equipment, trials or research from seabed mineral activities. So the ozone depleting substance contains chlorofluorocarbons and hydrofluorocarbons are prohibited in refrigeration and AC. So the nitrogen oxide for ships that have managing power of more than 130 kilowatt, tier 1, 2, and 3 nitrogen oxide restrictions. Tier 3 is to be used in nitrogen oxide emission control areas, ECA, so all compliance as per nitrogen technical codes. Ships to use low sulfur fuel oil, so the target is 3.5% after January 2012, 0.5% after January 2020, and then 0.1% for sulfur emission control area. So a volatile organic compounds VOC is applied to the tanker and it must have a VOC management plan. VOC is to be reported to IMO. the shipboard incinerator is to be approved by FLAG. So the state party to ensure adequate port reception facilities and fuel oil availability and promotion of technical cooperations. So CO2 emission will apply to ship of more than 400 gross ton. So ship built after January 2017 must comply Energy Efficiency Design Index (EEDI). Applied ship must have Ship Energy Efficiency Management Plan (SEEMP), and as ships more than 5,000 gross ton must report to consumption of IMO. The certificate for this next are International Air Pollution Prevention Certificate (IAPP), which have 5 years validity plus annual survey. International Energy Efficiency Certificate (IEEC) have a lifetime issuance without a major conversion or change of a flag, and a statement of compliance as SOC will be issued annually. Okay, our next acts and guidelines will be the overview of energy efficiency existing ship index EEXI and carbon indicator index CII requirements to reduce the greenhouse gases GHG emissions from ship, as well as discussed in Marine Environment Protection Committee MEPC 78. Okay, this is the timeline for the reduction of the GHG emission from ships. The Marine Environment Protection Committee MEPC and Intersessional Working Group have discussed the strategy, preventive measures, and also the execution of the process from time to time. Okay. The initial GHG strategy was adopted by IMO Marine's Environment Protection Committee MEPC during its 72 session in 9 to 13 April 2018. Their vision is to reduce GHG emissions from international shipping and phase them out as soon as possible in this century. So the initial strategy represents a framework for member states to first setting up the future vision for international shipping, and then secondly, the levels of ambition to reduce GHG emissions and guiding principles. And then the third one is the includes candidate for short, mid, and long-term further measures with possible timelines and their impacts on states. The strategy also identifies barriers and supportive measures, including capacity building, technical cooperation, and research and development (R&D). Okay, the ambition of the GHG strategy are review EEDI with the aim to strengthen requirements, and then to reduce the average carbon intensity CO2 emission per transport work by 40% in 2030 and 70% in 2050 compared to 2008. And then to reduce the total GHG emission from shipping by at least 50% in 2050 compared to 2008. Okay, next, this slide shows the timeline for the initial IMO GHG strategy from 2018 until 2050. At the moment, IMO has been doing short-term measures which involve the improvement in Energy Efficiency Index, EEDI, the Ship Energy Efficiency Management Plan, the Energy Efficiency Existing Ship Index, and also the Carbon Intensity Indicator. Okay, I will elaborate more about these terms later. Okay, after the short-term measures have been carried out, the next step is to implement the market-based measures. So the MBMs place a price on GHG emissions and serve two main purposes, which is to provide an economic incentive for the maritime industry to reduce its fuel consumption by investing in more fuel-efficient ships and technologies, and to operate ships in a more energy efficient manner. in sector reductions. So hopefully after successful implementation of a short and mid-term measures, so the long-term measures will result in zero carbon environment. Okay, this slide actually shows the regulators framework to reduce the GHG emissions. So as you can see, the CO2 price time to be determined. Okay, the market-based measures sets a price on CO2 emissions. The European emissions trading system 2024. So it set the emission cap and trade and sets a price on CO2 emissions. And then the GHG fuel standard. Okay, and then the operator requirement well to make fuel GHG intensity. And then the fuel European Maritime. Okay, the operational requirement well to weight the GHG intensity. And then the CII, okay, will be conducted this year, 2023. The operational requirements, actual carbon intensity, and then the EEXI 2023. So the design requirement for new ships, ideal carbon intensity, and then the EEDI, design requirements for existing ships, ideal carbon intensity, which is EEXI and CII. I will cover and I will elaborate more in the next slide. And then the SEEMP3 2023, it is a management requirement to the continuous carbon intensity improvement. And then we have the data collection system SEEMP2 2019, reporting of actual fuel consumption and CO2 emission. And then we have the SEEMP1 2013. It is the management requirements, continuous energy efficiency improvement. And then we also have the European monitoring, reporting and verification of CO2, EU MRV 2018. It is reporting of actual fuel consumption and CO2 emission. Okay, this is actually, there are two short-term approach. Okay, the first one is the technical approach for energy efficiency existing ship index. It is introduce the energy efficiency existing ship index as the energy efficiency index for the existing ship. The required EEXI is almost the same level as the required EEDI for new ship as of 2023. And then the second short-term approach is the operational approach, which is the carbon intensity indicator rating. The ship is rated on a scale of A to E based on the annual operational carbon intensity indicator, CII. So a ship rate D for 3 consecutive years or E will have to submit a corrective action plan. So what are actually the EEXI and CII? Okay, so the EEXI is a measure of a ship's energy efficiency per transport work. So the EEXI is a one-time certification targeting design parameters. The CII address the actual emission in operation. So the CII measures how efficiently a ship transport goods or passengers and is given in grams of CO2 emitted per cargo carrying capacity and nautical miles. So the ship is then given an annual rating ranging from A to E, whereby the rating threshold will become increasingly stringent towards 2030. Okay, so the slide shows actually the scope and some notes on energy efficiency index and also the way forward. So the cargo, the scope is the ship involves the cargo and the RoPax ship with conventional propulsion, cruise ship with non-conventional propulsion, and then liquefied natural gas ship with any propulsion, and then deadweight ton or gross ton size threshold per ship type, and then the EEXI calculated once in a lifetime, and then it has the standard reference condition, and we will comply it. So after January 2023, we have complied actually, and then the IEE certificate will be issued. And then the way forward to get the new International Energy Efficiency Index certificate. So the process, you can see the issuance of EEXI technical files, including the EEXI calculation. The responsible is from the ship owner or the manager, and then we submission to class, and then approval of EEXI technical file, which is the responsible is the classification society as EEXI verify, and then the EEXI technical file to be on board. So the onboard survey issuance of a new IEE certificate, and then the classification society on behalf of flag state. Okay, so this is the timeline of the Energy Efficiency Index regulation from 2021 until 2026, the adoption process, the entering into force, the start of the regulation, the application of the regulations, and review the effectiveness, develop and adopt a further amendment. So you can see the timing of the EEXI application, the amendments to MARPOL Annex 6 entered into force on 1st November 2022. So the requirements start on the 1st January 2023. So the EEXI verification shall take place at the following time. So the ship delivered, okay, we have two conditions. The ship delivered before 1st Jan 2023. The first annual intermediate or renewal survey of the International Association for Professional Certification, IAPC, whichever comes first, on or after 1st Jan 2023. So the ship delivered on or after 1st January 2023, an initial survey of the International Energy Efficiency Certificate. So for the CII, okay, we have the scope, which actually involve the cargo, ROPEC, and cruise, which have the more than 5,000 gross ton. The requirement annually from 2023, calculate and report of the CII and rate A to E. So the enforcement rating below than D for 3 consecutive years, like I mentioned just now, or E, corrective measures, have to done some corrective measures, and then the annual SOC will be issued. So the other elements is to be review to be conducted by 1st January and 2026. So as I mentioned earlier, from 2023, the CII requirements will take effect for all cargo, ROPEX and cruise vessel above 5,000 gross ton and trading internationally. Okay, these are the outcome of the Marine Environment Protection Committee, MEPC 78. So the general outcome is the IMO's Marine Environment Protection Committee held its 78th session remotely from June 6 to 10, 2022, last year. The finalization of technical guidelines for the upcoming EEXI, CII, and SEEMP regulations, the approval of a proposal for a sulfur emission control area in the Mediterranean Sea, and continued discussion on the IMO GHG strategy revision scheduled for 2023, as well as future technical and market-based measures were among the highlights. So the meeting highlights are shown below. So on the slide, so the guidelines for the EEXI, CII, and SEEMP are being finalized. The revisions, the IMO GHG strategy, as well as future technical and market-based measures are being considered. And then the approval of a new sulfur emission control area that will go into effect on July 1st, 2025. The adoption of watertight door amendments to MARPOL Annex 1 and the IBC code, the adoption of MARPOL Annex 2 amendments to the hazard evaluation procedures for chemical tankers products, and then the extension of the ballast water experience building phase. Okay, so the outcome of the MEPC 78 also give the technical guidelines for the EEXI, CII, and SEMP. So the EEXI, CII, and SEEMP guidelines were finalized at MEPC 78. So the EEXI, CII, and SEEMP have become ready for implementation after this guideline have been adopted. So before the first annual, intermediate, or renewal IAPP survey or the initial IE survey on or after January 1st, 2023, the EEXI technical file must be approved. By January 2023, the SEEMP Part 3 must be approved and implemented. Okay, actually this has been implemented. So the CII first report based on data from the 2023 is expected no later than March 31st, 2024. Okay, next is the revision of the fuel data collection system. So the MEPC 78 approved revisions to MAPUL Annex 6, Appendix 4 to incorporate EXI and CII information in the fuel data collection system. So the data collection system will consider additional revisions, including data transparency and cargo data. And then the revision of the IMO GHG strategy, there was a lengthy discussion about the upcoming reform of the IMO GHG strategy, but no new decisions were made. The main point of this agreement among countries, the gap between those who want full decarbonization by 2050 and those who want more information on the feasibility and state impacts before making such a decision. So on this issue, the MEPC will follow the existing work plan and decide at MEPC 80, which will be held in July 2023. So further negotiation will take place at an intersessional conference into December 2022. Which should be conducted concurrently with MEPC 79. It is also expected that an intersessional meeting will be conducted in the spring of 2023 to discuss this matter. So for the marine plastic litter, marking of fishing gear, MEPC 78 discussed whether the marking of fishing gear should be made mandatory under MARPOL Annex 5 or if a voluntary approach should be pursued. It was concluded to make the marking of fishing gear mandatory through MARPOL and to develop a circular as a short-term measure to promote the implementation of fishing gear marking. And then the garbage record book, the amendments to MARPOL Annex 5 to make the garbage record book mandatory also for ship of 100 gross ton and above and less than 400 gross ton were approved with a review to adoption at MEPC 79. Okay, this is the acts and guidelines of our nation, the Dasar Tenaga Negara, DTN. So the energy sector is the main driver of nation's economic growth. The energy sector and energy intensive industries contribute as much as 28% to internal output growth rate, GDP, and 25% of the total workforce. The energy sector is also one of the source of the income main country. With related income, petroleum contribute as much as 31% to fiscal income, and energy export comprise 30% of the total export value. So the main goal is to provide the Wawasan Kemakmuran Bersama 2030. The main goal is to provide a standard of living appropriate for all Malaysians, to go through the development for all, address disparities in wealth and income, and to make Malaysia a united, prosperous country and dignified. So actually, this is the key economic growth activities. So the one that I highlighted is actually involved in our MARPOL convention. So we have the Hub Asian, Commodity Malaysia 2.0, we have the Pengangkutan Logistik and Mobility Lestari, Tenaga Boleh Baharu, dan Ekonomi Hijau. So as you can see that the one that I highlighted, I put some notes there. So for the hub agent, menubuhkan hub agent dalam 12 aktiviti termasuk pasaran perdagangan gas dan komoditi Malaysia. Kita beralih dari pandangan komoditi bernilai tambah rendah ke produk hiliran untuk menjana pulangan lebih tinggi dan pertumbuhan industri baharu. And then for the pengangkutan logistik dan mobiliti lestari, kita penggunaan tenaga hijau, rendah karbon dan penyelesaian pengurusan trafik strategik dan penubuhan pusat-pusat ekonomi baru dalam bidang aero angkasa, otomotif dan pembinaan kapal. And then untuk tenaga boleh baharu, penggunaan teknologi baharu menyediakan locality preventive dan menawarkan pembiayaan TBB, tenaga boleh baharu untuk memacu pembangunan sektor tenaga boleh baharu. And then ekonomi hijau, kita memberi penekanan terhadap aktiviti rendah karbon termasuk bangunan hijau, pengangkutan lestari, ekonomi, kitaran dan lain-lain. Okay, this graph shows the energy demand by sector. Okay, as you can see from this graph, we can see that on average, energy consumption increased by year from 2010 until 2018. Okay. And then the same goes for this graph. The energy supply by resources also increased from 2010 until 2018. So the renewables energy, coal, natural gas and crude oil and petroleum product increased. But the renewables and coal energy recorded the most significant growth by 8% and 11%. So this shows that the transition of energy will change dynamically from crude oil to renewable energy, okay, for the future. So indirectly, it will reduce the emission of the carbon into the atmosphere. So that's why the acts and regulation have put an aspiration to a low carbon country targeted in 2040. So this table on the slide shows the comparison between 2018 and 2040 to the selected target. So as we can see, the peratus penggunaan pengangkutan awam will be increases on 2040. Same goes to the peratus penggunaan kenderaan elektrik. The targeted is 38% on 2040. And then the standard bahan api alternatif bagi kenderaan barat also will change from B5 to B30, which is less CO2 emission. And then for the number 4, peratus penggunaan gas asli LNG sebagai bahan api alternatif bagi pengangkutan marine will be increased by 25%. And then the peratus penjimatan kecekapan tenaga oleh industri dan komersial also will be increased by 11%. And then the peratus penjimatan tenaga oleh kediaman increase by 10%. And then jumlah kapasiti pasang tenaga boleh baharu, it will increase to 18,431 megawatt. And then the peratus arang batu dalam kapasiti terpasang will be reduced from 31 to 4% to 18.6%. And then peratus tenaga boleh baharu dalam total power estimation supply, jumlah tenaga kita adalah will be increased by 17%. Okay, the selected target shows, okay, as you can see, I have put the two arrows. So the green arrows, we can see that the increase in renewable energy, especially in solar, hydro, and also bioenergy. And the second arrow, which is the pointing downward, the red one, it shows the decrease in natural resources. So I mean the natural resources, the natural gas, crude oil, and also the petroleum. Okay, this is actually the impact of a low carbon country aspiration on 2040. So as we can see, the sumbangan kepada KDNK kita, GDP is 13 billions, and then it will increase the job opportunity to 207,000, and then it will reduce the CO2 emissions. And then we can see that the sara diri tenaga will increase from 48% to 72%. And then our perbelanjaan fiskal, okay, 4.3 billion. And then the jumlah, our total jumlah pelaburan is 9.2 billion. Okay, the next second acts and guideline from our nation is actually the Dasar Pengurusan Sistem Pekerjaan Negara. So as you can see, the objective is, the first one is the to integrate and cost-effective solid waste management that includes collection and transportation, intermediate treatment and disposal. And then number 2, the reduction of domestic waste reduction, commercial, industrial, institutional, community and construction through TR. And then the efficient and cost-effective service through privatization, efficient regulation and better standard. Number 4, the selection of technology that has been proven affordable and environmentally friendly. And then number 5, ensuring the environment and public health are preserved. And then the last one is the strengthen legislation and solid waste management institutions. So this is the course that have been outlined to achieve the objective. So the first one is to reduce the generation of solid waste and optimize the use of resources, ensuring that solid waste management is carried out holistically, including planning, collection, treatment, and disposal. And then number 3, strengthen governance, legislative regulation, and law enforcement. And then number 4, raise awareness and educate the community about solid waste management. And then number 5, improve integrated and comprehensive data and information management. And then the number 6, increase the capacity and human capital development. Okay, this is actually the this act and guidelines actually only covers the mainland. Okay, so in the sea region, the Marine Department will take on under IMO. Okay, so as you can see, these are the involvement of government and non-government entities. So we have the Indah Water, Sdn Bhd, Syarikat Kualiti Alam Sdn Bhd, Malaysian Recycling Alliance, and then Southern Waste Management, Vision Waste Disposal Sdn Bhd, Chemical Waste Management Group Sdn Bhd, City Waste Disposal Sdn Bhd, AGB Environment, and then Big 3 Waste Disposal. Okay, our next scope is the commitment of the Marine Department and also RMN, Royal Malaysian Navy, in implementing measures for this cause. Okay, for the Marine Department, I will use the recognized organization instruction 2022 as the reference. Okay, the RO appointed by the Government of Malaysia pursuant to Section 10 2A of the Merchant Shipping Ordinance 1952 are authorized to review and approve appropriate plans and documents. So the RO is authorized to carry out statutory surveys and issuance of statutory certificates on behalf of the administration, Marine Department of Malaysia, for the following type of Malaysian ships. So we have the conventional size ship, non-conventional size ship, offshore floating and fixed structure. Okay, so on the slide, on the right side, we can see the list of recognized organizations appointed by the Ministry of Transportation Malaysia in accordance with Section 10 2A to perform on its behalf statutory certifications and service under mandatory IMO instruments and under the Malaysian Shipping Ordinance 1952 for vessel registered in Malaysia. So as you can see, the 11 company that involved, so only one MY classification is from Malaysia. So the other 10 is from the outside of our country. Okay, This is RO is hereby advised to ensure ships flying the Malaysian flag shall comply with all international convention and code as applicable to the ship as specified in the slides. So in this webinar, actually the convention and codes involved with the MARPOL is the MARPOL and also the ballast water management, as I highlighted in the number 2 and the number 8. Okay, in the event that the condition of the ship or its equipment does not correspond substantially with the particulars of the certificate, or is not fit to proceed to sea in a way that pose a danger to the ships or crew on board or the marine environment, corrective actions are to be taken immediately to rectify these shortcomings. So in case where the corrective actions cannot be taken due to unavailability of spares, the relevant certificate is or are to be thrown and shall be notified to the administration immediately. So authorization for the issuance of statutory certificate is as set out in the table shown. So basically the initial, renewal, and annual or intermediate will be conducted by RO. So as you can see, I have put the F, okay, the green color in the on the table. So F is full authorization to review and approve the required plans, documents, and manuals, carry out surveys and issue and or revoke necessary interim and full term of certificate. So the L, so for the exemption, for the exemption, only the marine department will do the job. So the RO cannot do this job because L is because it is only done by the marine department. So the L is limited authorization to account for other special categories not covered by the above, such as case by case authorization or geographical limitation. Okay, this is actually what's done by the RO. Okay, RO or Jabatan Laut. So the first is the survey. So generally, all vessels shall be surveyed before being put into service and shall comply with all international conventions and national regulations. RO shall review and approve appropriate plans on documents related to international conventions or codes. And then RO have to perform the annual inspection and issue a report. And then certificate. Okay, RO is authorized to issue a short-term certificate. Okay, maximum 3 months under some conditions. Okay, a statement of compliance by RO may be issued for compliance with convention not ratified by Malaysia. So the flag administration shall be given access to the vessel status through the RO website. So the data that RO get, they must put into the website and have to allow the flag administration, our marine department, to access to the vessel, to the information. And then RO also issue all statutory certificates on completion of surveys and interim inspection on some conditions. And then RO shall notify to administration immediately in the event of suspension or withdrawal of any statutory certificates. Okay. The exemption. Okay. RO is not permitted to issue an exemption or extension certificate unless it is authorized by the administration. So no extension shall be permitted for a single hull or single bottom oil tankers and passenger ship. The exemption certificate may be issued without approval from administration only for, okay, this is I just quote from the pollution case only. Okay, the water ballast management, the certificate and plan for a ship not carrying ballast water or permanent ballast, and then B, the exemption of unmanned non-self-propelled barge from certain survey and certification requirements under Annex 1 and 4. So the additional instruction, okay, RO is authorized to carry out testing and issue type approval certificate to equipment and machineries to be installed on board Malaysians, and then authorized to review and approve the SEEMP Part 1, 2, and 3 and issue the IEEC, and then authorized to review and approve the installation of EGCS, okay, the exhaust gas cleaning system, and then authorized to appoint service providers related to survey and certification of ships, and then authorized to issue, okay, oil record books, garbage record books, ozone depleting substance record book, on and off status of marine engines, and then fuel oil changeover, and then lastly the engine parameters. Okay, for the RMN, okay, these are actually 4 references I am using in this slide. Okay, the first one is the buku rujukan laut 4211, panduan pengurusan sistem selenggaraan kapal, and then buku rujukan laut 1910, panduan pengurusan selenggaraan kapal di Bungan, buku rujukan laut 3000, the Marine Engineering Manual, and also Memo Markas Amadan, pemeriksaan asas keselamatan dan kesiagaan kapal, Safety Assessment and Readiness Check, SARC. Okay, this is generally the timeline of our process improvement with regards to the maintenance of warships. So as you can see, the usage of the T cards on all classes of ship in 1985, which then was to make way for a computerized system. So before this, we are using T card to do the record of the maintenance. So now we are changing to the computerized system. And then the reporting of Sistem Senggaraan Kapal SSK and improvement of manual documents and recording system, which transform gradually into a computerized system. The method of condition based maintenance assessment, CBMA, we started to use the CBMA method in 2020, and then CBMA is maintenance carried out based on condition monitoring of system and equipment. It is implemented before damage occurs. Thus, maintenance of repair costs can be minimized and ship readiness can be improved. So the same goes for the plan, do, check, and act PDCA. So SSK PDCA cycle has been developed to ensure that monitoring and inspection actions run smoothly. So this SSK PDCA cycle will involve all level of the SSK management, okay, all level of the RMN. Okay, next on the BRL still same BRL 4211. So we have 3 types of maintenance. We have the organizational level of maintenance, which is done by the ship staff, and then we are using the onboard spare list, and then we only do the basic inspection and testing. So the second level of the maintenance is the intermediate level maintenance. It is the involvement from the fleet maintenance depot and also our workshop. And then we are using supporting and additional equipment, and then more manpower, skills, and knowledge required to do this maintenance. And then the third one is the depot level maintenance. It is a critical resources. We must have the critical resources and also the special tools. So actually this maintenance, it is beyond the capabilities of the ship staff and also the base staff. So it is done with the OEM. Okay, based on this BRL, we can see that some of the documents are related to the IMO. Okay, the names of the documents might be different, but have the same meaning. Okay, actually the RMN has implemented the maintenance based on our references using the Royal Navy standard, which precedes the MARPOL Convention. So as you can see the list that I have marked on the figures, you can see that we have the general maintenance log GML, and then it's into the part of ship, and then we have the washkeeping, and then we have the maintenance for 250 hours and 3 months below, followed the PMS, plan maintenance schedule, and then we also have the pre-sailing check, start and stop routine, and then we have the borang pre-sailing check, and then borang routine pengoperasian sistem dan peralatan. We also have the engineering master log EML but M2103. So from this we have to record, we have the record our main engine and our genset, and then we record our support equipment, and then we record of our usage of the fuel, of our lube oil, and also hydraulic. Okay, and then we have the record to record the usage of our fresh water, and also the record pemeriksaan injak bawah air. And then as you can see, we also do the pemeriksaan, the inspection, we do the testing, and we do the recording, and also we do the reporting. So actually it is based on our list, based on our references. Actually we are comply with the MARPOL. Okay, as I said before, BRL 4211, it is earlier actually than MARPOL convention. Okay, these are the management process and practice that we impart in our maintenance. So the strategic level consists of RMN HQ, Engineering Department, Jutra, and also the Cawangan Penguasa Kegiatan Amanah CPKA. And then our HQ is responsible for the principles and policies. The CPKA develop the ship's equipment list, the OSL, the PMS, and also the insurance items. Okay, onboard spare list, plan and schedule. Okay, and then the operational level consists of naval logistics, which is responsible for the readiness audits and unplanned audits to ensure ships and boats are always in good condition. And then the ships and boats will carry out maintenance based on PMS, plan maintenance schedule. They have to ensure all the equipment and spares are ready at all time. Okay, so as you can see that this is actually the example of the borang audit SSK. Okay, and then you can see that we have to put the status pemeriksaan physical. You can see at the number 5, and then sekiranya kapal unit mempunyai sistem khusus yang dirangkaikan dengan RMN, kita kena ikut jadual ni. And then you also can see that the inspection will be signed by the auditor, and also it will be disahkan oleh ketua auditor from our side. Okay, next is the BRL 19, buku rujukan laut 1910, panduan pengurusan selenggaraan kapal di limbungan. Okay, so actually as I highlighted, I just want to show you that it is actually the equipment that involved in the MARPOL. Okay, we have the structural butt head, structural deck, which involve the tanks, and then we have the main engine, lubrication oil system, fuel oil system, gearbox. Everything is involved in the MARPOL convention. So what are we doing with all of these list of equipment? So when so the scope that we covers actually we do the service, we do the repair, we do the refurbish, changing of part, renewal, and the replacement. Okay, so I repeat again, the ones that I highlight are actually equipment involved in the MARPOL convention. So example includes the repair of the sewage treatment plant, upgrading or change of the main engine system, servicing tanks, and many more. So as Royal Malaysian Navy engineers, during a major maintenance, we have to ensure that all equipments have to be operating accordingly. Indirectly, it will help to avoid pollution in many ways. Okay, if ships are involved in any exercise, especially in the international waters, we have to obey certain rules and regulation. So for example, during the rim of the Pacific RIMPAC 2022 exercise, KDLK, okay, one of our warship, has to comply with the United States regulation. So we have to get the certificate of approval on our sewage treatment plant before our ship is allowed to alongside the Hawaii Naval Base. So as you can see on the left side, I put the certificate of approval for your references. Okay, so the same goes for to the ship or boat construction, fabrication. We have to get approval from the class society before commissioning and entering into operation. So the certificate in the slides shows the compliance and commitment made by our Royal Malaysian Navy to comply with all the rules. Okay. Next is the Buku Rujukan Laut 3000, the Marine Engineering Manual. So in this BRL 3000, it clearly states that the Marine Engineer Officer is to take all the necessary precaution to avoid the emission of smoke and the pollution of the sea by oil or any other substances. So in this respect, the Marine Engineer Officer is to be familiar with the provisions of the International Conventions for the Prevention of Pollution at Sea, MARPOL, which should be followed as best as possible, although warships are not legally required to do so. Okay. Okay, for next is the Memo A Markas Armada. Okay, the safety assessment and readiness check is a document containing guidance and a check of list. So this document is well designed and used as a reference upon conducting an inspection that is focusing on the engineering and safety aspect. So this document is applicable to all RMN ship and boats. So the identified and listed system and equipment in this guidance are flexible and must be tailored to the vessel systems and equipment that will be inspected. So the purpose of the document is to evaluate and identify the level of seaworthiness, readiness, and safety for the RMN ship and boat before going to sea. And then it evaluates and assesses the level of competency, understanding, knowledge, and skills of technicians, operators, and staff on board regarding the operation of the system or equipment under their responsibility, inclusive completion of the maintenance routine or repairs. And then it identifies improvement that can be implemented. So the scope for the SRRC, it involves a wide range of system and equipments. It can be divided into several elements, okay, which is, as you can see, the engineering, navigation and communication, the DCFF, damage control and firefighting, and also the life saving and rescue equipment. Sorry, and also the ship aviation pre-embarkation. Okay, so the reporting. So on completion of the inspection, the technical seaworthiness report comprise all findings, summary, recommendation, corrective action, recovery, and other related information that must be adhered to. The report must be submitted to the commanding officer of the vessel, Naval Logistic Headquarters, Western Eastern Fleet Headquarters, and other related depot or organization for further action. So the report must conclude the vessel readiness category. So as you can see that I have put the color, which is the first one is the safe for deployment, which is the state of readiness more than 95%, deployable with minor risks. The state of readiness must be 80 to 94.9%, deployable with major risks, state of readiness 60 to 79.9%, and not safe for deployment. State of readiness must be less than 59.9%. Okay, this is actually the example of the document we use when we are doing the inspection on the SARC. So based on this report, the markas, the headquarters CPKA will issue a report to the higher management of the RMN whether the ship is ready for the deployment. Okay, so as you can see the document that I've shown, okay, for example, we have the sewage treatment plant, sanitary. So it is required to show that whether the ship is have the capability to float. Okay, same goes to the compartment, space and bridges, air quality test, freshwater quality test. All we have to do before we send the ship into the sea. Okay, the last scope that I'm going to cover will be the way forward. Okay, actually I divide it into two sections. The one is from the IMO and the other is from the Royal Malaysian Navy perspective. Okay, from the IMO perspective, they have adopted 2030 agenda for sustainable development. It is to plan of action. It involves the planet, people, planet, and prosperity. And then for the sustainable development, it involves the social, economic, and environmental. So the first one is the conserve and sustainability use the oceans, sea, and marine resources for sustainable development. And then the second one is to end the poverty in all its form everywhere, and hunger, achieve food security, and improve nutrition and promote sustainable agriculture. And then it is promote peaceful and inclusive societies for sustainable development. It is provide access to justice for all and build effective, accountable, and inclusive institutions at all levels. Okay, and then to ensure inclusive and equitable quality education and promote lifelong learning opportunities for all, and then achieve gender equality and empower all women and girls, promote inclusive and sustainable economic growth, full and productive employment, and decent work for all. And then to ensure availability and sustainable management of water and sanitation for all, make cities and human settlement inclusive, safe, resilient, and sustainable, ensure sustainable consumption and production patterns. And then to ensure access to affordable, reliable, sustainable, and modern energy for all, and then take urgent action to combat climate change and its impact. And then the last one is to build resilient infrastructure, promote inclusive and sustainable industrial and foster innovation, reduce inequality within and among countries, strengthen the means of implementation, and revitalize the global partnership for sustainable development. Okay, from the RMN perspective, okay, actually one of the initiatives that we have undertaken is a Green Navy program. There are 12 initiatives that have been made to support this program, which is pangkalan rendah karbon, penghijauan pangkalan, kecekapan tenaga, perolehan hijau pangkalan, armada hijau, pengurusan air, pengurusan sisa, pengurusan pengangkutan, ICT hijau, tenaga boleh diperbaharui, EXA, ekonomi kondusif sektor awam, pembangunan kapasiti hijau. So the one that I have marked are actually related to the pollution. So they are, as you can see, the pangkalan rendah karbon, kecekapan tenaga, armada hijau, pengurusan sisa, and also tenaga boleh diperbarui. So what is in RMN's pipeline with regard to this concern are as follows. So RMN will procure engine with tier 3 or tier 4 standards. So actually this engine will procure lower carbon emission and indirectly will avoid the air pollution. At the same time, the fuel consumption will be optimized. So these engines will include exhaust after treatment. Okay, and then the second one is the RMN will optimize solar technology. So at the moment, we are still discussing with Malakoff on the installation of at our base with 9 megawatt supply, and then the targeted date 2035 RMN power supply will be fully supported by the solar energy. And then last but not least, the Royal Malaysian Navy has achieved planting 100 plants at the Lumut Naval Base. So in the future, we are targeting the 100 million plants. Okay, so that's all for my presentation. If you have any question to raise, especially on the RMN, please go ahead. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Tuan, Lieutenant Commander IRTS Azim. Thank you for an interesting presentation. Thank you very much, Tuan. Okay, so I will go to the question pane. Please do post your question. Yeah? Okay, so before there's only one question in the question pane, but before that, there is a question asking for a presentation slide copy. So you can download it later from the chat box. It will be uploaded by the IEM IT team. Not yet uploaded yet. Okay, so I'll go to the first question. So far, we have only one question. Okay, more questions are coming in. Hold on. Okay, so I will ask the first question. How does CO2 emission price going to be determined? Example, which country is eligible to tax the emission as ship is moving around the world? This question is by Mr. Michael Quay. Tom, maybe you can take the first question.
Okay, for the CO2 emission, actually before this actually I have discussed with the Marine Department. The emission will be taken based on our fuel consumption. Okay, before the ship is being constructed, okay, the size of the ship, the type of the main engine or the generators, okay, everything will be calculated through the EEDI and also the EEXI. So from that document, they will find the fuel consumption used on the ship, and then from that they will estimate the CO2 emission from the ship. So from that, they will the data that they get will be the RO recognized organization will determine the price that they have to pay based on that information.
Okay, thank you very much, Tuan. Okay, I'll go to the next question. This is by Mr. I.R. Chen Yong Chin. Okay, he's asking. Okay, let me see. Okay, he's got 3 questions, so I will ask one by one. What are the cost implications to comply with the mandatory requirements as mentioned in your talk? Cost implications to comply with the mandatory requirements as mentioned in your talk. What are the cost implications? That means understanding is how much will it cost to implement all these requirements, roughly, maybe in a nutshell.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry for this. I have to admit, actually, the cost that going to be implemented, maybe I don't know about the detail about that cost because I'm not involved in the inspection because it's done by RO. So I cannot give the estimation cost because actually I'm not involved on that. I just can show how it is being implemented and then how it is done. But the estimation cost, I cannot give the details because we, from the government perspective, we comply the rules, but not all the rules we have to follow because the RO recognized organization, it only do the inspection on the non-government vessels, And then the government vessel, they do the inspections, but I don't think that we have to abide by the law. So that's why if you ask me the detail about the cost, I cannot answer it because I don't actually know the cost.
Okay, Tuan, thank you. Okay, his second question is, what is D2 standard requirement? D2, donkey. D2 standard requirement in ballast water management.
Okay. Like I mentioned before, we have the D1 and the D2 standard. Okay, D1 standard actually involved in our level of operation. I mean, when the water in our ballast tank have exceeded, we have stored it more than 3 to 6 months. So how do we prevent it? Is we just discharge the water outside, or we transfer internally on the ship. That is the D1 standard. I mean, it is on the operational level and is controlled by ourselves. The D2 standard, it actually involves the outside equipment. I mean, the outside installation of the equipment to control the pollution made by the marine growth on the tank. It involves the equipment outside. Okay, so the D1 standard actually it is not involve any equipment. The D2, it is involve the equipment outside. That's the difference between D1 and D2 standard.
Okay, thank you, Tuan. Thank you very much. Okay, I go to the third question. What area is classified as control area? What area is classified as the control area? As you mentioned in your earlier slide.
Wait. Control area, control area. Okay.
I think when Tom was talking about yeah. Sorry.
Just a second. Control area. Okay. If you see that on the slide number 13, okay, slide number 13, okay, actually it is shows the table, okay, that the area that we are being the control area, actually the area that the ship in the ships outside special areas, the ship within special areas, and then the offshore platform and all ship within 500 meters of such platform. So this is actually the area that I mentioned, the three type of area, which have the different level of type of garbage that can be discharged over there. That is the area that I mentioned. So the ships, for example, I give the type of garbage, food waste, commuter or ground. Okay, on the ships outside special area, the discharge is permitted. So 3 nautical miles from the nearest land and en route, the discharge is permitted. Ships within special area, the discharge is also permitted, but it has to be more than 12 nautical miles from the nearest land. So special area, this is mean the Mediterranean Sea, Baltic Sea, Black Sea, Red Sea, Gulf area, North Sea, Antarctic area, and the Caribbean region. And then the other one is the offshore platform, or the ship that within 500 meters of such platform. So this is the area that we have that I mentioned, which is the control area. Okay, I hope that answers. Okay.
Yes, that answers the question, Tuan. Thank you very much. Okay, just for everyone's information, the handout has been already uploaded into the handout tab. So please download it. I think you can just right click and download if I'm not mistaken. Or just click on it, I think.
Is there any question on the RMM perspective? Maybe I can give the answer.
Yes.
very well.
Questions, there's no question on the RMM perspective. Okay, maybe I can ask one question, sir.
Okay.
Just mention about the CBMA implementation as part of one of your green initiatives. So what is the? What is the implementation rate at the moment? Have you implemented it in all your fleet, or are you testing it on a certain fleet only?
Oh, okay. Before this, we are not implementing the CBMA method because, okay, like I just mentioned before this, we are doing the maintenance. We only do the maintenance based on the planned maintenance schedule on the RMN, which is we have the book and then we just follow the book. So if our equipment have been damaged or defective, we do the corrective maintenance. Okay, that is the maintenance that we have done before. With the CBMA implementation, actually we can forecast the equipment before it being defect. For example, we do the loop oil testing. Okay, I mean loop oil testing. For example, we do the loop oil testing before we are going to sailing, and then after we are going to sailing. Okay, so from that testing, we can know the condition of the main engine operational. So whether it is good or it is not good. That's one of the example that I'm using. The second, maybe we do the vibration test. Actually, this is all the element that we use to forecast the defect before it being occur on our equipment. That's the simple explanation of the CBMA method.
Okay, thank you very much. To the audience, please do post in your question if you have any more questions. So far, I have only 2 questions in the chat, in the question box. The Lieutenant Commander IRTS Azim has answered the question already. We'll just give it 1 more minute, Tuan, if you don't mind. Just give 1 more minute to see whether we got any more questions or not. Yeah.
Okay, no problem.
Yeah. Okay. In the meantime, Tuan, just want to ask your opinion on slide 23. You mentioned about the EEXI and the CII requirement.
Okay.
So you mentioned also the body that the regulatory body that regulates all this, Jabatan Laut, right? If I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
Yeah. So do they?
Okay.
I mean, do they regulate for all the Malaysian registered ship and also provide the rating as well? Because you mentioned of the rating, yeah.
Okay. Actually, Jabatan Laut, they cannot afford to do all the inspection, all the testing, doing the EEXI ni, because I don't think they have enough staff. That's why from the RO regulation 2022, they have they have give the authority for certain company, the 11 company that I mentioned just now, to do all the EEXI, to do all the testing for all ship. So it is actually compulsory for the EEXI. So after Jan 2023, it has been implemented last month. So it is compulsory for the ship to pass the EEXI and CII. They have the grade A until E, right? So they have to pass that grade.
Okay, thank you very much, Tuan. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Okay, looks like we got no more further questions. We have only 2 questions for today. Okay, with that, Tuan, thank you very much, Lieutenant Commander IRTS Azim bin Azmi, for your time today. Yeah, thank you. Do you have any statements, sir?
Okay, thank you, Mr. Walid. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you for the IM and also RMN for giving me an opportunity to give this webinar. Thank you very much, Mr. Walid.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much to the audience also for your time today. Yeah, I wish everybody have a good evening and stay safe. Yeah, everybody. Okay, I hope you have downloaded the handout already. And with that, I would like to end the session for today. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Have a nice day.
Thank you.
Assalamualaikum. Thank you.